reason I don't kill you while you stand is because I know who you are.
Don't freeze.
I never. Freeze.
The revolution will not be televised.
My son, it is your time.
Show me my respect and bow down.
Jackie Robinson, a black man in white baseball.
What you gonna do if one of these pitchers throws through your head?
I'll duck.
What the hell you doing?
The mashed potato.
That ain't nobody's mashed potato.
I only represent innocent people, people accused because of their race. That's my mission.
I never touched that woman.
Nichelle Turner is here. She joins me to discuss. Nichelle, thank you so much. Unbelievable.
Tough one, Don.
It is.
Yeah.
43 years old. Beyond sad. Please tell us what you know.
Well, younger than the both of us. It's tough talking about someone that is so young and has such a bright future in front of him. I mean, you mentioned, of course, he was the star of Black Panther and introduced us all to King T'Challa, Marvel's first black superhero movie, full rounded movie. And he was catapulted into superstardom after that. But he also, starred in so many films. I used to kind of joke with him and say, if there was, an iconic black man in American history, you would play it, because he also played Jackie Robinson in 42, which of course today is Jackie Robinson Day in Major League Baseball. He played Thurgood Marshall in Marshall, and of course today is the anniversary for the March on Washington. And he also played James Brown in Get On Up. And he did all of them masterfully. I mean, Chadwick was dedicated to the craft. He believed in the work. He was masterful at it. But Don, he also believed in social justice initiatives, and he was a firm believer on the get out to vote fight. He's a kid from South Carolina. He talked openly about the trials and tribulations he had with racism growing up. And he even talked recently about when he was shooting Black Panther in Atlanta just 5 years ago. He would go back and forth to visit his family in South Carolina and would see, Klan rallies and things like that. And it sat with him, and he was committed to seeing change. And he was so excited to bring T'Challa to the screen. I remember I hosted the introductory press conference for Black Panther for Disney with the entire cast. And I remember introducing him. And you know how people say Barack Obama has a swagger when he walks? Chadwick Boseman had that same swagger when he was walking out on that stage. It was an amazing moment. The crowd stood up for him. Everybody was so excited.
And he did
T'Challa to be there.
So he did the thing over his chest from Black Panther.
Yeah, Wakanda forever, of course.
So I've got to say, similar. I saw him at an opening, and he was also very. He didn't. Some people have an entourage and they walk around like I'm a star. No.
Very humble.
Very humble. Not at all. Stood there, took pictures with everyone, talked to everyone. His people had to drag him away from talking to the people in the crowd and on the rope line. I got to put this up, Nichelle, because this is from August 11th. Take a look at this. He posted a picture with Kamala Harris. You talked all about his movie roles, but also, he was very excited about his fellow Howard grad with the hashtag We All Vote and Vote 2020. He was focused on the future.
Yes, he was focused on the future, and he would talk, so openly about it. the thing that no one knew, Don, is that he had been diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer in 2016.
So he knew. Hang on, he knew while he was shooting Black Panther.
Marshall.
And
No, but they were done with Black
they were
Panther.
done. Okay.
Yeah, they were done with Black Panther, but he was shooting Marshall. He shot 42. He shot The Five Bloods, which is just out now. Spike Lee's latest movie.
Mm-hmm.
He is, the central figure in that movie. I did just interview the cast of that, and I did wonder why Chadwick wasn't doing press. I don't know if it was because of his illness, because he is the central figure in that movie, and he's wonderful.
And everyone thought he was getting ready for a role because he was thin, right?
Yes.
He was preparing for a role.
There were in the last few months. He did a couple videos and he did look very thin. And I, like many people, thought he was preparing for a role. What we didn't know that he was in a fight for his life.
As I said, he's a graduate of Howard. He returned to give that commencement address in 2018, gave the Wakanda salute at the Howard graduation, saying, "Howard forever." There he is right there.
Yeah. I remember asking him once.
Can we listen? Can we listen,
People ask
Nichelle?
you to do- Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't
No, I didn't
hear.
know either. But let's re-rack it if we can and hear a little bit of
Purpose
it.
crosses disciplines. Purpose is an essential element of you. It is the reason you are on the planet at this particular time in history. Your very existence is wrapped up in the things you are here to fulfill. Whatever you choose for a career path, remember the struggles along the way are only meant to shape you for your purpose. I don't know what your future is, but if you're willing to take the harder way, the more complicated one, the one with more failures at first than successes, the one that has ultimately proven to have more meaning, more victory, more glory, then you will not regret it. Now, this is your time. I love you, Howard. Howard forever.
Yeah. Oh boy. Go ahead, Nichelle. What do you want to?
Woo! We gonna get through this. Yeah. So, welcome everybody to How the Frack We Got Here. Today's date of August 29th, 2020. As you probably have been seeing on your Facebook feeds or all social media as of last night, yes, our beloved Black Panther, Chadwick Boseman, has passed to colon cancer. And I ain't gonna lie, Juan, I ain't gonna lie. I know we were supposed to talk about the news and stuff today. This one hurt. This one really hurt. He was literally our first black superhero that, was really pushed outside of Blade. And yeah, it's gonna be pretty rough. So definitely peace and condolences out to his family. So before we do get into this, like I said before, with the Use This podcast, we are going to talk about the news, things of that nature. I am going to be very careful about what I say as far as cussing goes, but unfortunately, we still may be showing things of a graphic nature, so viewer discretion is advised. Aside from that, guys, welcome. I am literally at lost for words. Like I said, being a superhero nut, and the simple fact of the matter is, not to get away from Chadwick Boseman and not give him his due. Y'all gotta, for all those that don't remember, Black Panther had only came out really just a few years ago. And everybody was so hyped to see that movie. It did not disappoint. And of course, the thing I wanted to show about Chadwick Boseman in that scene was the man was sick after Black Panther. And I'm thinking to myself, he was sick during 42, he was sick during The Five Bloods, he was sick during Marshall, and you gotta think, stage 4 colon cancer is no effing joke. And this man was actually doing movies while he was sick. I think he was about to actually subdue Black Panther 2. I was trying to find news. Were they about to start shooting for Black Panther 2, or were they already in the middle of it? I couldn't find that information out before we started. But dude, for somebody to be that sick and still doing movies, strength ain't the word. It really is not. but definitely peace and condolences out to his family. We all gonna feel it. That's just no ifs, ands, or buts around it. But that being said, guys, we are gonna move forward because, like I said, forget my language, but 2020 can eat a dick right now. Just because of how everything's going. Even more so about the story of Jacob Blake. And for all those that didn't see that video, unfortunately, that video has been scrubbed from everywhere. My opinion is because the police don't want to show, openly shooting a black man on videotape. But he is still stable, still alive. And actually, this story gets even more twisted because he was shackled to the bed in his hospital, even though the man is paralyzed from the waist down.
Office says bond was posted in Jacob Blake's case and that he's no longer shackled to his hospital bed. Wisconsin's top law enforcement officer responding late today.
Do you believe that it was appropriate for him to be shackled to the bed, given that he was paralyzed from the waist down?
I do not think that Mr. Blake should have been in handcuffs, no.
Earlier, Kenosha officials said the restraints were standard procedure.
He's being guarded because he's under arrest, and it was for an outstanding warrant for third-degree sexual assault.
Today, state authorities identified 2 more officers at the scene of the shooting. Investigators say Officer Vincent Arenas unsuccessfully deployed his taser trying to arrest Blake, and that Officer Brittany Marinek was also there after a woman called 911 saying that her boyfriend wasn't supposed to be on the premises. Wisconsin's Attorney General says only Officer Rustin Shesky fired his gun and that Blake admitted to authorities he had a knife.
He was interviewed after he'd been shot 7 times?
There have been a number of interviews conducted in this case.
Today, a court hearing was postponed in Illinois for Kyle Rittenhouse, the white teenager now charged with the murder of 2 protesters earlier this week. Rittenhouse's attorney tells NBC News this was classic self-defense, and we are going to prove it. But Rittenhouse's case has outraged Blake's family after he was seen in this video walking by police after the gunfire before being arrested hours later.
They let him literally go home. So that tells you a black man who is making no threat to the police, walking away from them, is shot 7 times in the back. A white man kills 2 people and walks by the police and is not shot and not killed.
The police chief says the officers did not know Rittenhouse was a suspect.
I believe everybody out there in law enforcement has been friendly to both sides.
President Trump is blaming the summer's violent protest across the country on poor leadership in what he calls Democrat-run cities.
That is definitely someone who is ill-informed of our community.
John Antaramian is Kenosha's mayor.
How much of the increased tension was due to the militias that came here?
I am one of those who thinks the militias create part of the problem. Do not want them here.
Tonight, more National Guard members have arrived here in Kenosha to help keep the peace this weekend.
Thousands of... Okay, so let's just break down. Like I said, it was a lot. For all those who know about Jacob Taylor, he was the very young man that was walking away from the police, opened his car door with his back turned to the police, and one of the officers that you just now was notified shot him 7 times in the back. Thankfully, he is still alive. He is still stable. Unfortunately, he might be, it hasn't been confirmed if he's going to be permanently paralyzed. However, he is paralyzed from the waist down. And yet, the Kenosha police still decide to handcuff him to the bed. Where is he going to go? I mean, you just heard he's paralyzed from the waist down. Why the handcuffs? Even the attorney general for Wisconsin's like, he's not going to go anywhere. I mean, if the man is trying to leave, somebody's going to notice. And at the same time, you hear possibly the most corrupt police chief outside of Tennessee turn around to there and say, well, it's standard procedure. It's standard procedure to handcuff a paralyzed man to the bed in the fear that he's probably going to run. Insert bad joke here. And on top of that, like I said, getting into the shooter, which they're going to, the Kenosha shooter, which we're going to go into momentarily. The thing about this is, guys, like I said before, I'm trying to say this in a very calm manner. It is amazing to me, for the simple fact of the matter, that a lot of people are still sitting there saying, whenever a black man is shot by police, they always go, My personal favorites were the top three. Did he listen to the police? Did he comply? Was he a threat? First and foremost, whether or not, I think we've had enough black men being killed by police, whether they comply or not, still wind up dead. We should be asking ourselves, what you should be asking yourselves, those who like to call themselves logical people who are questioning these deaths, maybe you should realize that all you're doing right now is defending the police's actions. I mean, for the simple fact of the matter is, any black person out in this day will sit there and tell you whether you comply or not, you still worry about going home, because an officer can take off their uniform. We can't take off our skin, and we don't know what mindset that officer's going to be in when he wakes up. I'm just pointing these things out. These are the things that go through a black person's head. On top of that, for the simple fact of the matter is, why aren't these cops? Of course, with most shootings, cops are placed on administrative leave. More than likely been shuffled out of the state, and probably got the protection of the U.S. Marshals. I wouldn't be surprised, especially now that the family is going to sue, and rightfully so. They should sue the police department for everything they can get. Really, in the same sense as George Floyd, in the same sense as Ahmaud Arbery, in the same sense as Breonna Taylor. Think about that for a second. Jacob Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, Jacob Blake, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, George Floyd. I mean, recent. 4 recent. What more is it going to take for you people to understand? But then again, I don't expect it from most white people, especially who watch Fox, because again, going to the 17-year-old that literally, and this is the thing I'm gonna show. Before I show this video, keep in mind the shooter they're talking about, Jason. I can never pronounce his last name. Keep in mind he's a 17-year-old that was in possession of an AR assault rifle. Think about that. He wasn't even from Kenosha. He traveled up. Well, I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. His mother gave him a ride up there, as he held a weapon that he was not illegally allowed to hold. He wasn't allowed to own nor carry across state lines, and he decided to go up there and defend the businesses, as he says, from looters. A 17-year-old. That's a good excuse to go kill you, if you ask me. However, Tucker Carlson, or I'd like to call him Fox resident douchebag, decided that he was going to defend him in the most Fox-like way possible.
Surprised that looting and arson accelerated to murder. How shocked are we that 17-year-olds with rifles decided they had to maintain order when no one else would? Outside the convention, chaos that began with the first George Floyd protests on Memorial Day has reached its inevitable and bloody conclusion. Last night, 3 people were shot on the streets of Kenosha, Wisconsin. 2 of them have died. Police say they've charged a 17-year-old with murder. Here's what Kenosha looked like last night. At one point, the 17-year-old, who has now been charged, tried to run from the mob. He tripped and fell in the middle of the street. A man ran up and smashed him in the head with a skateboard. The 17-year-old then fired his gun. As of tonight, we really don't have more details. We do know why it all happened, though. Kenosha has devolved into anarchy because the authorities in charge of the city abandoned it. People in charge, from the governor of Wisconsin on down, refused to enforce the law. They stood back and they watched Kenosha burn. So are we really surprised that looting and arson accelerated to murder? How shocked are we that 17-year-olds with rifles decided they had to maintain order when no one else would? Our leaders want us to believe that this is all a racial conflict. They're always telling us it is, but they're lying. It is not a racial conflict. At its deepest level, the chaos they have unleashed has very little to do with race. Most Americans are not bigots. Unlike CNN, they are not fixated on skin color. They don't really care, most of them. Our cities are burning because the people in charge have allowed them to burn. Tonight, the White House is sending hundreds of additional National Guardsmen and military policemen to Kenosha, and that is a very good thing. But let's be honest, the Justice Department could have stopped all of this months ago.
The violence must stop, whether in Minneapolis, Portland, or Kenosha. President Trump and I know that the men and women that put on the uniform of law enforcement are the best of us. We will have law and order on the streets of this country for every American of every race and creed and color.
Kind of reads like a very bad horror movie, doesn't it? And like I said, Tucker Carlson, Fox's most resident douchebag, because Hannity is not on the air for a while, he takes the most. You know what this is, and I tell people because a lot of old people watch Fox. Really, just old people in general watch Fox. There's just no way around that. And they watch Fox for everything, and we shouldn't be surprised that they watch Fox for everything. For the simple fact of the matter is just that Tucker has to sit there and make them feel good about themselves. Oh, what happened in Kenosha is not a racial issue. But notice they don't mention anything about Jacob Blake being shot. Oh, well, the 17-year-old fired his gun. Not considering the fact that the 17-year-old wasn't supposed to, not considering the fact that the 17-year-old was not supposed to have a firearm in the first place, and be at a rally, especially at a rally over 40 miles away from where he lives. Again, different state. And he's also going to sit there and point out Mike Pence, like, and of course, in typical Fox fashion, they have to point out that CNN has a problem with this. Unlike CNN, who are fixated on skin color, why is it that it's always the most absent-minded white person who swears up and down there's nothing wrong with the world? Oh, that's right, because their world is fine. They are at the top of the food chain in their life. They've never been seen lower than that. So again, I shouldn't be surprised by that Fox is going to somehow try to spin this to where you will see those same talking points be regurgitated by all those that watch Fox News. What'd you say, Vaughn? But William, he's white. Yeah, they're gonna try that and possibly connect to somebody. We'll see, Vaughn, to be honest with you on that. Hey, Alex, murderer's mother has also been seen at protest groups geared up and toting an AR-15. Again, it's like you don't come. I was like, here's the thing: armed protesters who are usually there to defend against those who are protesting against whatever situation it is, they're never there for protection. They are there to shoot people, and they use that excuse all the freaking time, and it never makes any sense. You know, they try to defend it. Oh, we're here to defend the businesses. I'm sorry, is TJ Maxx having a problem? I can't see a guy 40 miles away going, that target needs protection. Let me throw my AR-15 and go up there and defend that target. Businesses are insured. They have riot. Look, people, for all those that don't know, every business has riot insurance, which means that in the event that a riot happens or some sort of non-deity event, because they consider natural disasters non-deity events, pretty much they're covered. If a business burns down, they have insurance. They're covered. Simple and plain. They don't need protection. That's the simple. That's the Republican perception, which we'll go into momentarily, because unfortunately we got to cover the RNC debates that happened as well. And you're right, Alex. He was chased by a mob, and let's leave out why he was being chased. It couldn't have been said because he shot someone in the head. Yeah. Fox News, you're exactly right, Alex. Fox News very carefully selected the narrative that they wanted to tell. by leaving out details and telling a certain narrative, they're able to spin this to where it's they make it seem like he was more of a patriot. But that's the P word that they love so much. They love the word patriot. Republicans love freedom. They love guns. They love their God-given rights, which again is an oxymoron in itself. Your rights weren't given by God. Your rights were granted to you because we as a people decided that these are the rights we should all have as citizens. God didn't decide that. Somewhere, I just want God to sit there and go, no, I didn't do. Look, don't put this on me. I mean, could you imagine being a Republican, you die and you get to be in front of judgment, and God's like, okay, so first let's talk about these God-given rights. When did I ever tell any of you mother? I did not tell y'all. That's something y'all made up your own. You know, you lied on yourself. You know what? Go to hell. I can see him doing that to somebody. What do you say, Vaughn? He has a gun. You might want to keep an eye on him anyway. America. Yep, that's America. That's pretty much how it goes for that. But unfortunately, like I said before, keeping on with the whole thing, I know there was a lot of negativity this week, especially with, like I said, most recently Chadwick Boseman passing away, Jacob Blake being shot, and the issue and the riot and the shooter in Kenosha. I'm honestly happy to sit there and say to a certain point, let's go ahead and, like I said, I've been saying this on previous podcasts, and I'm so glad that the sports world is finally starting to catch on to this, even more so that it's starting to actually go across different areas. I'll explain this because in this video, Kenny the Jet actually walked off because NBA players are doing the same. Check this out.
He's inside the NBA, a former NBA player, walking off set just moments ago in support of the NBA players' boycott. That boycott resulting in the NBA postponing all 3 of tonight's scheduled playoff games.
And for me, I think the biggest thing now is to kind of, as a black man, as a former player, I think it's best for me to support the players and just not be here tonight. And figure out what happens after that. Yeah, I just don't feel equipped to do that.
And I respect that.
Okay, up front now, Bob Costas, Hall of Fame broadcaster, our contributor, host, and announcer for the MLB.
Now, I don't know about y'all, but that is freaking powerful. Keep in mind, like I said, with the attempted, like I said, with Jacob Blake and everything that's happened, it is amazing to me that the sports world is finally starting to really jump onto this and say, you know what? We have a platform. And I know other people out there like Zoe Williams and other radio podcast hosts have all said the same thing. The only way that you're really going to get attention and the only way you're going to get something to change is that you have to hit them where it hurts. You have to hit them in their wallet. And right now, with this other video I might show about the NBA playoffs, keep in mind, LeBron James, who has been one of the biggest voices out there, that has literally sat there and said that he's one of the most vocal people out there that says things have got to change. And even though it may not show in this video, I'm going to go ahead and say it anyway. It actually caused the NBA, the MLB, even Major League Soccer all postponed their games. Like, you gotta think, it was actually, if you can think about it, it was a sports blackout this previous Wednesday. And you gotta think, a sports blackout where a whole bunch of teams, including the WNBA, decided that we are not going to play. And I have to give respect to the WNBA because I couldn't find enough video on them for what the ladies there did as far as showing simple fact of the matter of police injustice, brutality. They are not given enough credit for that. And I wish I could find that video to where I showed it. I mean, it was gone here today and gone tomorrow. But here's the video about the NBA playoffs and what they got going so far.
The NBA's quiet courts speaking volumes as players pause the playoffs again before a reported agreement to soon resume games. The act of protest after the shooting in Kenosha comes as players from Milwaukee demand Wisconsin legislators act on police reform, a cause bigger than the game.
There has been no action, so our focus today cannot be on basketball.
Finding power in their platform on a night when millions watch and hundreds of millions of dollars are spent on advertising and broadcasting rights, the message became a movement around the sporting world.
We need to understand that when most of us go home, we still are black.
Players in the WNBA spelling out Jacob Blake on their shirts with 7 bullet holes in their backs. Soccer, tennis, hockey, and baseball games canceled across the nation. Different arenas, but the same fight.
I think the most difficult part is to see, like, people still don't care. It just shows just the hate in people's heart. Being a black man in America, it's not easy.
Athletes turning to activism in a new era.
What you're seeing in general is probably the largest, most widespread day of sports activism that our country has ever seen.
Soon the games will go on as the NBA shoots for change. Miguel Almaguer, NBC News.
And again, that's why I say that's powerful, guys. But the simple fact of the matter is, I have been saying it. If you really want change to happen, you got to hit them in the wallet. And trust me, a sports blackout like that hits a lot of owners' wallets and has them panicking. Especially if you're in the NBA and you got to deal with LeBron James. He is probably one of the most, if not vocal ones out there. And at the same time, he is definitely leading in charge. And I love the fact of what he's doing and what other players are doing. Like I said, the WNBA does not get enough credit for really speaking out and really showing the fact the matter is that we're not going to stand for this shit anymore. What'd you guys say? Sorry, I meant to say to get back to this. Vaughn, God, let's talk about Manifest Destiny. Hey, Darius, since you guys watching, yeah, they should have been playing anyway. You're right, but again, that I can understand to the same side of it. But it's like I've been saying, like I said, I'm not the only guy that's been saying it. I've followed other podcasters and other television hosts that have their own shows, and they've been saying it. You know, preaching and protesting is good, but if you really want to affect it and you're in a position to do so, it's just like the NFL. The NFL, honestly, if the NFL really backed Kaepernick, I mean, the way they're backing him now, but you also understand, when Cap, 4 or 5 years, sorry, I just, that looks so weird. I apologize. I just like Uncle Ruckus for 5 seconds. 4 or 5 years ago, Cap took the knee. He started taking the knee at football games. And you can imagine the firestorm that happened. Players taking sides, coaches and everybody, oh, how dare you disrespect the flag, even though it had nothing to do about the flag, it had nothing to do about the military. He was simply protesting the injustices, the police injustice and systematic racism against minorities. That's what he was talking about. Now imagine that 4 years later, now the NFL is saying, oh, maybe we should have listened. Roger Goodell, one of the biggest opponents to Kaepernick, is now saying, well, maybe I should have listened to him. It is amazing now, like I said, with the world of sports. If the world of sports, and I say this, and me and Thomas, when we were doing our podcast, we was here for How the Frack We Got Here. We didn't understand the argument that a lot of these players have gotten multi-million-dollar deals, and now you're asking them to protest, which hindsight in 2020 would be a small sacrifice to pay, because you do have players now talking about taking knees. You do have players talking about, if it wasn't for COVID-19, sitting out the season. Amazingly enough, had every black person on every sports team in every sports league decide that they weren't going to play and sit out the season, we would shut down. Keep in mind, guys, we are 78% of the NBA. We are nearly 82% of the NFL. We are almost 35% of Major League Baseball, and we're less than 5% of the NHL. And at the same time, let's not even talk about Major League Soccer, because there's a lot of us there too. And imagine, for the simple fact of the matter, if every black person in those leagues sat there and said, I am not going to play. Simple and plain. Had that happened, shit would be shut down overnight. Oh, they'd be willing to listen then. Because at that point, now the owners are losing money. Keep in mind, the owners have been losing money. And it's the interesting thing about it is now they want to listen. It's amazing, when the richest money is affected, they want to listen. Imagine that. So, I know this is the part that I'm going to hate, but on this show, like I said, if we covered the Democrat National Convention, we also have to cover the Republican National Convention. So I know, we have to be, both sides have to be given their due. I tried to find the shortest video I can. I'll understand if you want to pop off for a second and don't want to watch it, but I gotta show it, even though I don't want to. But we have to maintain, we have to have a journalistic edge to this. So, of course, the Republican National Convention, in which Donald Trump and Mike Pence had accepted nominations, went on for 4 nights. And as you can expect, it was pretty much 4 nights of bullshit.
The nominee of the Republican Party.
President Trump knows he inherited the first generation of Americans who couldn't promise their children a better life than their own.
The party had moved from liberal to radical. This new Democratic Party wasn't just for higher taxes. Now they were for open borders, against our police, and against our God-given rights.
At no time before have voters faced a clearer choice between 2 parties, 2 visions, 2 philosophies, or 2 agendas.
The radical left doesn't really want better policing. They don't really care about making the justice system fairer. What they want is no policing.
Biden is a Trojan horse for socialism.
He's a Trojan horse with Bernie, AOC, Pelosi, Black Lives Matter, and his party's entire left wing.
They want to defund the police and take away your Second Amendment rights. They want free health care for illegal immigrants, yet they offer no protection at all for unborn Americans.
I recognize that my dad's communication style is not to everyone's taste, and I know that his tweets can feel a bit unfiltered. But the results speak for themselves.
He makes promises and he keeps them. He is transparent, and we certainly know what he's thinking.
We have already built 300 miles of border wall, and we are adding 10 new miles every single week. The wall will soon be complete. And I say very modestly that I have done more for the African American community than any president since Abraham Lincoln.
President Trump rectified the disparities of the 1994 Biden crime bill that disproportionately hurt African Americans.
Biden's record is a shameful roll call of the most catastrophic betrayals and blunders in our lifetime. He has spent his entire career on the wrong side of history.
We want a society where every child can live in a safe community and go to a great school of their choice.
Biden also vowed to oppose school choice and close all charter schools, ripping away the ladder of opportunity for Black and Hispanic children. And we have deported 20,000 gang members and 500,000 criminal aliens. The goal of cancel culture is to make decent Americans live in fear of being fired, expelled, shamed, humiliated, and driven from society as we know it. America will land the first woman on the moon, and the United States will be the first nation to plant its beautiful flag on Mars.
You are the reason he is going to keep fighting for 4 more years.
I'm sorry. First and foremost, I gotta apologize. I know, like I said before, if anybody has listened to me or heard me talk, you guys know I am not a Republican. I'm not. I don't feel like voting for a party that's going to shoot myself in the foot and reload. I don't really consider myself associated with Democrats because there's a lot of things that they don't do that I don't agree with. That also being said, and Alex kind of took the words out of my mouth. I feel like the same person wrote all. Even though Alex said I feel like the same person wrote all these bullshit speeches. He wouldn't be wrong, because listening to that entire, even though that was clips, of the final night of the Republican convention, of the Republican National Convention, it felt like one big entire speech that's regurgitating facts. It's not even regurgitating facts. It's regurgitating lies. I mean, the simple fact of the matter is, Trump has done more for black people than Abraham Lincoln. No, that's a lie. We deported 500,000. He said, what did he say? 100,000 gang members and 500,000 criminal legal aliens. No, you have went ahead and sent your Gestapo to detain anybody and then deport them, but yet keep the children who are still in cages in ICE detention centers currently. That's a lie. You've done more for the economy. No, sir. You have basically taken a decade's worth of uptick progress and you killed it in less than 4 years. I mean, even Bush took 2 terms to destroy Clinton's economy. You did it in 1 year. Bravo. Again, lie. But it's amazing to me where the whole thing is he paints this rosy picture of we're going to build the wall. Still, almost 4 years later, we're still talking about building the most ineffective wall because planes have been invented. Immigrants have figured out intricate tunnels that literally go under the new border wall he's just created. This is all fear tactics. Even more so, you can tell as this one woman I'm going to show a little bit of this clip, who was actually debating Donald Brazil of the DNC, and let's be honest, she tries to paint a rosy picture only white people who are very much bigots will get.
The incredibly moving stories ranging from Tim Scott to Nikki Haley, showing that we can deal with violence, racial violence, in a way where we come together. No Democrat has spoken out against the nature of what's happening in Kenosha, Portland, Seattle, Baltimore, New York, Chicago. Americans have a choice. And the fact is that the Republicans are showing an expanse of what the American sensibility is and what the American future is. It's not some discussion over some seminar.
This is why the choir sounds like a note coming from a scratch record. It sounds like I will never be an American in your world, because after 400 years, my family cannot.
Of course you are.
That is not what anyone said. Walk out this house without fearing violence.
No one is saying that.
Tammy, listen.
Donna,
yes, you are.
Because
you're
you
Tammy,
can enjoy
you
last
are saying that to me.
Last night was your message
what are you
as well.
saying to me?
Last night was your. What was it about last night
Tammy,
you didn't like?
you need to listen as well as talk.
So you want to know what Tammy's saying to you? So let Tammy answer.
I listen to you, and what you do is you ignore the pains of people who are hurt.
What was
you
it about
ignore the pains of people who
just want to breathe.
Tammy, hold on 1 second.
What was it about?
Just say, Tammy, hold on 1 second. Don, so Donna, your point is you're ignoring 400 years. So let Tammy answer you.
Don't be so condescending and patronizing to tell me.
Donna,
that I cannot tell my story. Tell me the story
Donna,
of people who are struggling to live.
She just
to
described.
Are just as important.
She doesn't want an answer.
Donna,
I mean, that's
let her answer.
You're patronizing.
Let her answer.
She doesn't want an answer.
Offensive when you say
doesn't.
that. No, Tammy.
No, Donna, hold on. Donna, hold on.
Ladies and gentlemen, white privilege. And the funny part is, I didn't want to keep it going because, like I said, that was from the part where I stopped it, it was an additional 3 minutes of her still sitting there saying she doesn't want an answer, she doesn't want an answer, she doesn't want an answer. When Donna had pointed out, your whole idea is I would not be welcomed in your America. And it's amazing to me where I sit there and say, when I say about Republicans, and trust me, they come at me too. They love coming at me. Sometimes I need to actually get the comments that I get off my YouTube page, for how the Frack We Got Here, and I also start posting them here because they say stuff from anonymous sites, and I'm like, oh no, say what you really want to say. Because the funny part is, as the woman that was debating Donna Brazile on Fox News, or trying to, because Fox News believes that the white person should always be given the floor first because privilege. She tried to point out last night. She tried to point out that Donald Trump did actually have black people in their corner, which let's be honest, they had some black people speak on nights 3 and 4 of the Republican National Convention. One in particular was Alice Johnson. And if you don't know who Alice Johnson is, here's the video.
Thank you very much, everybody. Alice Johnson has been just incredible. She's gotten out. She's recommended people to us. She knows many, many people that have been put in prison, and whether they should have been or not, she knows that they were put in for too long. Alice was given a life sentence. And you spent about 22 years, and for something that today a lot of people wouldn't even be going to jail for. And it was horrible, and we found out about it, and we gave a commutation. That means we were able to get Alice out, and she has been just so outstanding, and I'm so proud of you. And we're giving Alice a full pardon. I just told her. We didn't even discuss it. You were out there. I saw you in the audience last night. And I asked the folks if you could bring Alice over. We're going to give a full pardon. We're going to do it right now. That means you have been fully pardoned. That's the ultimate thing that can happen. That means you can do whatever you want in life and just keep doing the great job you're doing. Alice has done an incredible job since she's been out.
Okay, I gotta stop it right there. Just because the fact of the matter is, Alice Johnson, for all those that don't know, she was actually given a life sentence for a nonviolent drug offense. Now, for a nonviolent drug violation, for pretty much marijuana. So I know a lot of you guys are thinking, well, that doesn't seem so bad. Sometimes Trump can do some things. Even a broken clock is right twice a day. Here's the problem with this. Now, keep in mind, this is the day after the Republican National Convention, in which Alice Johnson went up there and spoke with Trump because she was one of Kim Kardashian's projects. Kim Kardashian, the woman who decided that she wants to look into prison reform, and has taken it upon herself to start looking into certain individuals about getting them released. I think Alice Johnson was one of two people she got released. And here's the problem I have with this timeline. Alice Johnson was actually let out of prison regarding a parole. She spoke at the Republican National Convention the final night, which was Friday. The day after Friday, that's Thursday. On Friday, President Dorito at the time, decides to give her a full pardon after she spoke at the convention. Does anybody see a problem with this? Because I do. Because I'm sorry. I don't care if for simple fact of the matter, I could go into the whole thing about the nonviolent crime bill, how unfortunately the 94 crime bill that everybody voted for, including Joe Biden and everybody else, Republican, Democrat, all voted for this crime bill that was put in by Bill Clinton that turned around and actually knocked up and created the profit prisons that we now know. Yes, we know all about them. The 94 crime bill was literally the catalyst to that. Now, Alice Johnson, unfortunately, was one of the ones that were thrown the book at that. I just find it a little unsettling that this woman is now free because she had to basically sing Doritos' praises at a Republican convention. I cannot get that out of my head to save my life. Because I don't care how bad prison is. I can't sit there and say, this person says, if you talk great about me, if you tell your friends about me, if you do all this and bring all these black voters I'm going to need to win the election to me, you'll get your freedom. That to me is not a person that sees injustices and tries to correct them. That is an opportunist that's going to sit there and say, you bring your black friends to me and I'll set you free. I'm sorry. I mean, me and my girlfriend talked about this last night, and I'm like, I can't accept that. I can't accept if you've been in jail this entire time, and really, Dorito offers you something and you just run with it. I cannot accept that for the life of me. I really cannot. But again, this is where Dorito's gonna sit there and say, black people love me, even though I've only helped out one. And there are more than 100. There are hundreds upon thousands of inmates, all with her same story. Are you going to help them too? I sincerely doubt it. But in other news, guys, like I said, there are other things that have actually happened that I wanted to get into. Again, where I said people don't understand the whole idea of when you get messed with as a black person. And I have to give it to Doc Rivers, because Doc Rivers also spoke out against injustice and systematic racism in America. And I wanted to play this because I just love what he said.
Like, all you hear is Donald Trump and all of them talking about fear. We're the ones getting killed. We're the ones getting shot. We're the ones that were denied to live in certain communities. We've been hung, we've been shot, and all you do is keep hearing about fear. It's amazing to me why we keep loving this country, and this country does not love us back. And it's really so sad. Like, I should just be a coach. And it's so often reminded of my color. You know, it's just really sad. We got to do better. But we got to demand better. Like, it's funny. We protest and they send riot guards, right? They send people in riot outfits. They go to Michigan with guns and they're spitting on cops and nothing happens. The training has to change in the police force. The unions have to be taken down in the police force. My dad was a cop. I believe in good cops. We're not trying to defund the police and take all their money away. We're trying to get them to protect us, just like they protect everybody else. And how dare the Republicans talk about fear? We're the ones that need to be scared. We're the ones having to talk to every black child. What white father has to give his son a talk about being careful if you get pulled over?
He's exactly right. I cannot see where a father who is not black has to sit there and have that conversation. We have a lot of conversations with our children, true, but only black people have to have that conversation about what to do with the police, how to handle it. Honestly, we're taught customer service skills at a young black age, and then they wonder why we're so good at it. Because we've had to learn to talk to hostile people that shouldn't even be hostile toward us. Says a lot, doesn't it? And you're right, Alex, about that. Same lies, same rhetoric, same crap, same throwing around socialism like it's a scare tactic with no substance, and blowing the ghost of Reagan. Yes, they love blowing the ghost of Reagan wholeheartedly, even though Reagan was not the great communicator. He was actually a terrible president. But moving right along, guys, like I said before, it is already hard being black in America, especially when, simply put, you get harassed by everything. Even this video that a buddy of mine showed me, where I couldn't believe it, that these cops have nothing better to do than to question a black person who has too many cards.
man?
My credit card.
You're on camera too, man.
Yeah.
Can you prove it that they're your credit card?
I just did.
Dude, I didn't see your name until just
There
now.
I go right there.
Man, I hold them and look
No,
at
sir.
them.
No.
Then prove to me that the rest of those cards are yours with your name on them.
They are. All of my name on them.
Absolutely.
I'm in a hurry. My wife down there, she broke down. There they go.
Hang on, let's make sure, man. Ryan.
Yeah, that's mine.
Okay, that's one. You've got like 10 there, man.
All of them is mine.
Okay,
all
I
of
understand
them.
that.
All of them.
I'm just trying to slow down
All
for
those
me.
are mine.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, there's more there, man.
They're mine. They mine.
Listen, I'm not
sir.
trying to make this more difficult than
Sir,
it is, but
they
you
mine.
are.
They mine. That's all.
Okay.
They mine. Look, I got the same 2 cards. That's mine.
Okay.
Thank you.
But you understand why we're even talking with you?
I got you.
Pardon?
I got you.
Okay.
No, I had the wrong pen in some of my cards. I got to go on my phone and unlock it.
Okay.
So that's why I was
See,
switching
that's
cards.
reasonable. That makes sense. You know.
Yeah, I got my kids on my account, so I got different the same cards. You
Okay.
know?
So you have, because I know you're with Navy Federal
Yeah.
Credit Union, right?
Yeah.
So you have like 10 different cards from them?
I got my kids on account.
Yeah.
And I got my cell phone account, and me and my wife is on account.
Gotcha. Okay. Again, we're only asking you that this because somebody
Yes,
brought it to our
sir. Yeah,
attention.
okay.
They were concerned, and that's why we're going to talk with you.
I mean, they
about
could have asked me, or I mean,
Keep
all
in
this
mind this,
come-
some people, they don't look at things like, hey, I'm going to stop this guy or ask this guy a question. They want us to handle that because they don't feel like it's their business for them to come up to you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because if you saw somebody doing something like that, would you say something to them? You'd probably come find us and say, hey, you mind
Yeah,
going over
well,
there?
my wife down there broke down, so I'm trying to get
Where she
to
broke
it.
down at?
Way down there off of Crowley.
Off of Crowley?
Whatever street that is. I'm not from here. I don't know.
Oh, okay. How'd you end up in Burleson?
Because I'm getting a tattoo over here.
Oh,
And
you
I'm-
are?
Yes.
Okay, is that what you're going money out for?
Yes.
Okay. You gonna go help your wife?
Yes. I'm going to get to her first.
Okay, I got you. Just bear with us a minute, man. Anytime that we're out with someone, for just accountability purposes, you run your license, and then once we're done with that, then we'll get you out of here. Cool?
Now, the thing about that is, the reason why I wanted to show that video was because that is one of the things that we as black folks have to, that happens to us. Now, I've always said it best, every black person has a horror story with the police. There's not a black person out there that has made it past the age of 12 and doesn't have a story about them with the police. The simple fact of the matter is, what the story is, somebody had to sit there and call the police if they sat there and suspected something. Think about this for a second. An ATM will deny your PIN multiple times. It will not send out a signal to the police that there's a crime in progress. Somebody decided to sit there and again weaponize the police because they saw a black person that had multiple credit cards and probably assumed he stole them, instead of just leaving it be. And that's why I said the guy was frightened. That's the fear of it all. The reason why he recorded it all is because he doesn't know. We don't know what happens with our interactions with police. We're just trying to make sure we make it home. At the same time, I can't blame that guy for not wanting to be defensive. I would be defensive too. Why do you have so many credit cards? None of your fucking business. That's why. At the same time, it's like, well, why do you have, where are you trying to get to? Where's your wife? Where's she stuck at? How'd you come to get here? Why are you asking so many questions like you're trying to figure out my life story? Because at the same time, I'll say it once and I'll say it again. Had he been white, half those questions would never even got asked, or none of them for that matter. Because again, there seems to be this systematic perception out there that if you're a white person and that a white person is doing good no matter what, unless it's absolutely obvious that they're doing something bad. but it's assumed that a black person's up to no good just because they're black. That's a problem. And at the same time, it's a problem of perception that seems to be getting passed along. And even more so, like I said, it's getting to the point to where black people, yes, you should be recording. You should be doing everything under the sun because we don't know what these cops will do. That's just the truth. But switching gears as we get to our next last story before we do our feel-good segment, this one actually kind of made me laugh a little bit because, you know, the Republican Party, the Church of Family Values, the Church of Moral Values, the Church of just simply put, we are all about family. Yeah? I love these stories.
It's evangelical leader Jerry Falwell Jr. A former pool attendant, Giancarlo Granda, calls Falwell a predator, saying he engaged in sexual liaisons with Falwell's wife while Falwell watched. We'll talk with Granda in an exclusive interview. First, Deborah Roberts brings us the latest on the scandal and a second allegation that emerged overnight from a former student at Liberty. Good morning, Deb.
Good morning, George. Yeah, this is a scandal that seems to grow deeper and wider by the day for a man who was once at the top of his game in Christian conservative circles. Now, Jerry Falwell Jr. is not only out at the world's top Christian university, but he may have also lost his reputation as well.
This morning, that new allegation about the Falwells, coming from a former Liberty University student providing an anonymous account in Politico, alleging he had a sexual encounter with Becky Falwell, the wife of the school's former president, Jerry Falwell Jr., while he was a 22-year-old. The Falwells called the allegation false and mean-spirited. It is the latest in a shocking string of scandals to hit one of the most influential families in the evangelical conservative movement.
As our friendship has grown, so has my admiration for Mr. Trump.
A staunch advocate in Republican politics and for President Trump, Falwell resigned from the college following a series of stunning developments. First, a racy photo he posted, then took down from social media with his arm around his wife's assistant. He apologized for posting it, saying it was just in good fun from a costume party. Then that first jaw-dropping allegation of sexual impropriety that directly goes against the school's strict moral code.
We are so proud of our students here at Liberty, and it's just such an honor to be able to serve alongside them. And we try to teach good family values and good morals.
Falwell accused by his 29-year-old former business partner, Giancarlo Granda, of being aware of and even observing Granda's affair with Falwell's wife, Becky, though Falwell denies any involvement. Granda says he met the Falwells when he was a 20-year-old pool attendant in 2012, and their relationship took off from there, lasting years. He provided this audio recording as proof.
His new thing is like telling me every time he hooks up with people, like I don't have feelings or something.
You're gonna make us jealous, man.
Yeah.
Not trying to do that.
Granda says he vacationed with the Falwells, even went into business with them, owning a Miami youth hostel. In this email shared exclusively with ABC News, Granda says Falwell offered a glowing recommendation for him to apply to Georgetown University in 2018, calling him a quick study on all business-related matters, consistent, dependable, and someone who has operated with the highest business ethics and integrity. But the relationship later soured. Now the Falwells are accusing Granda of extortion, claiming he threatened to go public with the affair unless he was paid millions. But Granda denies that allegation. Overnight, the Falwells declining to comment on Granda's allegations.
Falwell has reached out to numerous news organizations over the last week, including ABC News, and so is his wife, Becky, both vigorously denying most of Granda's claim. They both say that they're victims of a man who tried to take advantage of them. No word yet from the couple on this newest allegation. George?
Okay, Deb, thanks very much. Let's bring in Giancarlo Granda right now. Thank you for joining us.
I'm sorry. That's wrong. No, it's not. It's wrong. It kind of is. Oh, guys. Oh, guys. Okay. All right. So the fact of the matter is, it's funny to me. It is funny because keep in mind, usually with conservatives, Christians, And I'm not talking about all Christians out there. There are some good ones out there. There are some good ones as well as bad ones. So I'm not talking about all of y'all. But the Falwell Liberty College, it is funny. Liberty University is funny to me. This man, you know what? This sounds like those Dear Penthouse letters. The pool boy. Your wife had a thing for the pool boy. And now the pool boy is like it's almost for a bunch of people talking about moral high fiber. It was literally a swingers party. Let's just be honest. The pool boy was, let's be honest. Jerry Falwell Jr. was banging everything with a pulse. His wife was out there apparently with the pool boy. And I think it's kind of funny. You know what that is? I'm going to call it what it is. It's a perfect word for it. Christian entanglement. That's what I'm going to call it. It is Christian entanglement. I can see Jerry Falwell going to Becky. Becky, did you have a thing for the pool boy? We had an entanglement. An entanglement? An entanglement. You know, it's going to be a new website. ChristianEntanglements.com. When you love the Lord, but integrity is kind of a squeaky area. Oh. Well, what do you say, Alex? I'm sorry, Alex. I crack up laughing on that one. I ain't one to kink shame, but if you're into being a cuck, don't be a hypocrite and dump on others for less. Oh, dude, I think that was you know what? If you do open marriages, polygamy, all that good stuff, if it works for you, it works for you. But, don't come off being holier than thou and then, you decide to bang students at your university and your wife decides to bang the pool boy and then you give the pool boy a recommendation to Georgetown. To me, that just sounds like House of Cards. I was waiting for Kevin Spacey to come out of nowhere, honestly, to get the monologue. But I'm sorry, that was funny to me. And yes, like, I know a lot of people are going to be saying, I went to Liberty University. Really? Did you get banged by Jerry Falwell too? Or did the wife take a pass at you? Now, I'm just saying, it's funny to me, but at the same time, it never ceases to amaze me how the party of moral and family values always seems to be caught with their pants down and their hands in something they shouldn't be. But yeah, I'm going to laugh at that. That's pretty damn funny. So, the last story that I got, guys, was I did not know about this protest, that they actually did a march on this, and it was a march on Washington, and I missed it, but I still want to show it, because I think this is pretty cool before we get to our Feel Good News segment, so check it out.
Undeterred by a global pandemic,
we lay ourselves on the line because this is important.
The unforgiving summer heat.
We didn't come out and stand in this heat because we didn't have nothing to do. Black lives matter, and we won't stop until it matters to everybody.
An anticipated crowd of 70,000 marched on Washington on Friday, fighting for the same things their mothers, fathers, and even grandparents fought for during the civil rights movement.
Despite the fact that they weren't able to do certain things. So I just want to make sure that progress continues.
For a lot of these people, this is emotional, it's personal, and it's life or death.
My Uncle Patrick was gunned down in the streets of Brooklyn, New York at the age of 18.
Activists young and old, family members of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Jacob Blake, Ahmaud Arbery, and many others grieving loved ones lost at the hands of police, and passionate speeches echoing from the foot of the Lincoln Memorial, saying enough is enough.
My brother cannot be a voice today. We have to be that voice.
Demanding police accountability, economic empowerment, and equitable access to health care, education, and the voting booth.
Our forefathers were willing to die for the right to vote. We can work for the right to vote.
The King family also speaking before an emotional march to the Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial.
We will fulfill my grandfather's dream.
Organizers also hope that this event will only drive a lot of people to the polls this November. We heard from marchers over and over again today, vote like your life depends on it, because it does.
Like I said, that bad. Now, I wish I knew about that march. I didn't actually find out about it until my research, and they do have a solid point. It gets them down to the point that this is This election is going to be pivotal, and I have been saying this. Get out there. Do your research. I am one of those guys that likes to be on the journalistic side, but I always encourage folks to go out there and do your own research. I don't mean, just crowd surf. I mean really get into these candidates' asses and ask the questions that need to be asked. Really hold their feet to the fire. Because trust me, every congressman and senator and representative and politician has a contact number. It might go to their office or things of that nature, but you should demand to hear what they have to say before you make a decision. You shouldn't. I mean, at this point, I can sit there and say the choice is obvious, but a lot of people will still sit there and be like, "Well, I'm not going to vote for anybody, so I'm just not going to vote." And the simple fact of the matter is, along with a multitude of other things, the one thing that actually got Dorito in the White House to begin with was a lack of voting. Keep in mind, even though Hillary won the popular vote, until we actually disband the Electoral College, that is the shit that matters. And until we get people on board, I'm going to keep saying it. There should be no reason why you shouldn't vote. But you have all the reason in the world to figure out who you want to vote for based on what you believe in. And from there, I will sit there and say the choice is obvious. But again, you can't sit there. I don't want to be those type of folks that sit there and say, well, it's obviously who you should pick for, because the facts speak for themselves. You have to lead people to those facts and allow them to make up their own mind. And that's how we can say as an informed society. That's how it should work anyway. Wait, Alex, I don't think she would have had direct experience with her with his business knowledge. She could have written a glowing recommendation for the adult entertainment industry, though. Man, I'm telling you, not to make this into an adult show, but hey, adult entertainment industry, Christian Entanglements, starring Jerry Falwell. Let me stop because I'm going to turn it. This is supposed to be a family-friendly show, and I'm failing miserably. But anyway, but that's really all the stories we got. We're going to get to our feel-good segment. What I say on the feel-good segment is basically, guys, like I said, on how the Frack We Got Here, I do cover a lot of stories. Like this week has been a rough week. It really has. 2020 is starting to shape up like 2019 at this point. With people that we've lost, things that are going on. And so it is more imperative for how the Frack We Got Here that we do take the time to do a feel-good news segment. Like I said with feel-good news segments, it's the weekend. It could be sunny. Hopefully you guys are in the path of the hurricanes, are all safe, and that, destruction of property and stuff, that could be replaced. Human lives can't. So we hope that there hasn't been any loss of life. I haven't really checked on that to find out. I hope there's not. But everybody, I hope, is in that hurricane's path. You have stayed clear. But aside from that, guys, like I said, for every other part of the world, we're just trying to have a good Saturday. Trying to, have one of joy, of love, and things of that nature, and some funny. And I try to do that with everything that I find, and I hope I've been able to successfully do this with this. So let's get right on into it. So even though weddings are coming up, guys, and I say guys because, for a lot of us, some of us are probably on the clock. I know I'm not, but I'm just saying you are. Let's just say it's probably been suggested to you. So this couple decided that they are really going to serve the community by simply having, they basically take their wedding, which they had planned to the nine, and actually, instead of having this huge, humongous wedding, they decided that they wanted to have a smaller wedding with less guests, and basically take the food and everything, and all the food and drink that they had planned for their wedding. They actually decided to give it to a place called Laura's Home, which is a nonprofit that feeds and houses homeless people. Not only do they give the food to this nonprofit organization that helps people, they literally turned around and in their wedding gowns and tux decided to go help serve people. Y'all, let's think about this for a second. They got married and then immediately turned around and started helping people at the nonprofit organization. I don't know about y'all, but man, y'all try to go for a couple of the year? I mean, think about this, ladies. You ladies have this wedding in mind that you're just like, you know what? I'm gonna have this, I'm gonna have that. It's amazing to me that they would turn around and just decide to give something to people who don't have any. That to me is cool. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. That's why I was like, you know what? Either that's a very understanding wife or a very understanding husband or both. But I have to give the simple fact of the matter is that people decided to literally take something that is usually very sacred and things of that nature and decide to share with other people. Can't knock that. And also for the cute version, I say the cute version of this, for all those that have daughters, there is a cute version of this, which apparently has made this woman cry when she saw her two black girls watch the Beyonce video. Now, that was cute. Especially because two girls are two cousins that love to hear Beyonce. And apparently I've never heard a 2-year-old say the word Beyonce. I've heard a 2-year-old say a lot of stuff that don't make any sense, but I've never heard a 2-year-old go up to them and say, Mommy, can we watch Beyonce? Can we watch Beyonce? Maybe they say Beyonce, maybe they say something close to Beyonce. I'm just saying. But anyway, I like the image of it because this kind of goes back to Black Panther. And I know we're all still going through it. But you guys have heard me say many times, it's all about perception. For example, let's be honest, we all saw a black superhero. Aside from Blade, I'm not giving Blade not his due, but let's be honest. When we saw Black Panther in Civil War, oh yeah, we geeked out hard. And then when you saw him have his own movie, we was done. I mean, I can tell you, like, me and some handful of friends, because me and Thomas and the Mountain Puncher, we kind of make it a point when it comes to Marvel movies to kind of go at midnight. Reason being, it's a lot easier to get to movie theater, less kids. At the same time, we didn't care about working the next day. I cannot tell you guys that when we went to go see Black Panther, I mean, we were hyped. Well, Thomas was more hyped than any of us because, let's be honest, the man is just he is an internal hype box. I'll give him that much. But I can remember that even at midnight we saw kids there, and you saw parents wanting to show their kids representation of us on the silver screen, and that says so much, including in that video right there, where you literally see the mom. Yeah, she's tearing up because she sees her children looking at representation on television. And let's be honest, it's a positive enforcement as far as that. That's like saying, that's like Nichelle Nichols being Lieutenant Uhura on Star Trek. For a lot of women, that's like Whoopi Goldberg on Star Trek. And I can keep on going down the list. I mean, for the simple fact of the matter is, representation definitely does matter. And that's the reason why I think the video is so cool, just because again, it's just cuteness that 2-year-olds want to watch Beyonce, and therefore another 2 people are added to the beehive. So the next one I got, guys. Now, if you're like me and you're trying to lose weight, I know I'm trying. It feels like I'm not. I actually feel like I'm getting more muscle than weight these days. But I love the fact that a gospel singer has came up with a song that now I think is going to be stuck in my head anytime I open up the fridge. Y'all, it's funny to me. I hope it's funny to you.
For you, you'll like this one especially, SG. You've probably heard a lot of people complaining that they're gaining a little extra weight. You've been saying that, even though I don't know if it's true.
It's not true.
It's true. From
it's
home.
Not true.
Some are calling it the Quarantine 15. Get this. Gospel singer KD French turned that battle against excessive snacking into a catchy song. Take a listen.
Oh.
Somebody stop me. I'm at the fridge again. I'm at the fridge again. She's at the fridge again. Calling my name. At the fridge again. I'm at the fridge again. She's at the fridge again. from your knees. Come get her. I'm doing a little too much. She doing too much. She got the fridge again. The fridge again.
Come on. Is that saying that, even though I don't know if it's true? Now that
It's true.
From
It's
home,
not true.
Some are calling it the
Camera don't lie.
Quarantine 15. Get this. Gospel singer K.D. French turned that battle against excessive.
I'm sorry, y'all. I was trying to get it because she was pretty much singing "She's at the Fridge Again," and that was sticking in my head. It's like, you know, in old gospel tunes, you know, "She's at the fridge again." I was like, I felt that pain. I felt like I wanted to testify right then and there. But anyway, the last story that I got, guys, I think is a pretty good one. And honestly, this goes to show you, above all else, which I'll talk about. But again, let me just play the video and hope it works, because right now MAC doesn't like anybody.
A little morning boost o'clock, as
Yes.
you call it. Let's take it to Pittsburgh, where a young couple had an unforgettable day on Monday in more ways than one. So Mike went to the hospital for his final chemo treatment, and that's his longtime girlfriend, Lindsay, right there with him as usual. Well, when it was all said and done, Mike walks over to ring the bell. That's the celebration bell. Well, then he had a surprise for his sweetheart. Take a look.
I know you've been waiting for this forever. Will you marry me?
That's perfect timing there. Mike had hoped for a romantic proposal on the beach. When that couldn't happen, one of the nurses, Nikki, worked out his little plan. Two celebrations, boom and boom.
Mazel tov. So yeah, so in that story, guys, as you can see, man just finished his chemo, his final preparation of chemo, being in remission, and wanted to propose to his girlfriend. And I'll be honest with you, hey, honestly, fuck cancer. I know I said I was gonna watch my language on the podcast, but honestly, fuck cancer. In so many ways. Just because of the fact of the matter is, and also, like I said, it's good news. Like I said before, he was able to go into remission and be able to propose to his girlfriend, and now they're getting married. And I don't know about you, but honestly, that's about as best as a good ending to that story as I can think of. Well, with that being said, guys, we are actually done. That is all that I have, and I ain't got no more. So I do thank you, everybody, for watching and for peeking your head in, or just wondering what a guy in an Alabama headband was talking about. I certainly appreciate it. So before I do get out of here, I do have some shameless plugging. I am not the only guy that has podcasts. I'll start my buddy Vaughn, abigvizia, which I hope he gives me his graphics very soon, that I'm going to need, because I always want to put a face with the person I'm talking about. But he actually has a couple of shows himself. I'll start with the first one, which is the VSTs, or his solo cast. It was a news podcast. That news could be music, video games, or trailers. He loves the show. I call him the king of the weird trailers, because he always seems to find that one that just constantly earns him the crown. But I have to give him credit, just because he has found Rent-A-Pal, and I have to wait until after September 11th to watch it to give my review of it, because I think it's an interesting horror movie, and it's been a while since I've had a good horror movie, so I'm kind of looking forward to that. But his VSTs is an interactive podcast, just like mine. He also has Rhythmness, which is currently on hiatus, but you can definitely go onto his Facebook or his social medias under the name abigvza, and be able to see all previous episodes that we had. Of course, in Rhythmness is basically a group of us that goes over albums and grades them to a 4-tier rating system. We also do discuss it to see if we like it, we didn't like it, or the artist should have just never tried and stuck to going to DeVry. Either way, it's always fun, because differences in taste in music always lead to great discussions. He also has Random as Fuck, whereas Random as Fuck is the pool of ranches we sometimes dip our toes into to take a break from life and have a chuckle. Some bills make you think, some bills make you cry, but always to a theme and always entertaining but never unforgettable. And of course, he has his other one where he calls Funkin' Around, in which he likes to show, I call him a musical savant, just because he likes to create beats, and he does it, and he loves to show the entire process, his his workbench, his musical workbench, if you will. They like to go over and show people what he's doing, how he comes up to it, and eventually the finished product, if there is one. But he definitely loves to show that process because it's a side of himself that I think is the most talented part of him, aside from his podcast. And I just think it's worth looking into. But all of his shows can be found under his Facebook page at abigbza. And of course on all social media, so where you can be able to see it from Facebook to Instagram, and I think Periscope and Twitch, if memory serves me right. Also, another brother, Thomas Reed, is also on hiatus right now, but you can go back and view all his previous episodes of To Be Determined on his Facebook page at Thomas Reed, or his YouTube page at 2TBD, in which To Be Determined is his fitness podcast. You know Thomas Reed on Facebook, he definitely does do a lot of working out. Matter of fact, I'm pretty sure he's working out right now. But he loves to help people work out, loves people to help them find their zenith by giving out fitness tips, exercise, nutrition, things of that nature. Because trust me, he used to be bigger. But if you see him now, he's always in a tank top. And I used to make fun of him for wearing a tank top, but I think when you get down to that size and that ability and that strength, you have earned the right to wear tank tops. So I'll stop messing with him about it. Well, no, I won't, but I'll try. But like I said, all of his shows were currently on. You know, his show right now is currently on hiatus. You can definitely see it on Thomas Reed on Facebook or 2TBD on YouTube. As for yours truly, I do have a few podcasts of my own. Every Tuesday from 7 to 9 p.m., I do have the Burned Out podcast, my IT storytelling podcast, in which I tell stories about my IT background. Some people may find it funny, and that's my aim to goal. But if you don't find it funny, that means I was probably talking about you. But it's always a lesson that can be learned from that. Of course, every Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon is my How the Frack We Got Here podcast that you're currently watching now. A little bit later tonight, between 8 to 10 p.m., will be the Off Limits podcast. And I decided that just ahead of time, we're going to have a funny topic. I know with all the heavy stuff going on in the world right now, we need some laughter. And honestly, I think I have a topic tonight that should have everybody laughing, but enough for us to discuss it, but in a funny sense. Because like I said, the world could use some healing right now. We can heal the world through laughter, and that's what I aim to do tonight on the Off Limits podcast. Of course, every Sunday from 7 to 9 p.m. is the Get Bit podcast. That is Get Bit, GITBIT, is a blurred podcast in which I cover everything from video games to sci-fi to Comic-Con to comic books to television series and things of that nature. Gamescom is happening this weekend, and we will recap everything that's been released from there. I doubt a lot will be, but we will still cover it. At the same time, especially news going forward about the CW and what they plan to do, especially with our review of the new Bill and Ted movie that just came out just yesterday on Amazon or any of your viewing or on-demand services, and I'll give my review of Bill and Ted as well as other things as well. Aside from that, guys, I do want to say that all my shows can be found on my Facebook page at William Buchanan or on their own YouTube or Facebook pages. So whether on YouTube or Facebook, if you look up How the Frack We Got Here, the Burned Out podcast, the Off Limits podcast, and Get Bit, that is GITBIT, you'll be able to see every podcast that I've done in its entirety. And if you like what I did, please let me know. If you didn't like what I did, please let me know. We're just trying to make this platform better for all to enjoy, not just the adults, because kids should also be informed as well. And speaking of informed, like I said before, with this election year coming up, please vote. But before you do, find out the facts. Do your own research. Come up, and I mean not just going to Fox or CNN or NBC or all this. I mean really dig into the dirt, because that's the whole point of How the Frack We Got Here. How the Frack We Got Here is simply about staying informed. We're not looking beyond the television or face value stuff. You are really going in and doing the research for yourself, because unfortunately, we cannot depend upon the old ways to inform us like they used to, because there's advertising, there's perception, there's agendas all across the board. That being said, it is more imperative as ever that we inform ourselves as citizens with the technology that we have in front of us, because an informed community can make a lot better decisions than an uninformed one, because an uninformed one got us Trump, and that's how the frack we got here. So please, above all else, guys, do the research, do the work, but definitely vote. And at the same time, fuck cancer. And also, as guys, if there's anything we can take from our king of Black Panther, number one, death is merely the stepping off point. Number two, guys, if you're in my age or you're getting to be my age, it's time to start doing those checks. It's time to start getting our colons checked, our prostates checked. It's about time we start going to the doctor to really get checked up in our health, because colon, prostate, testicular cancers, they're all deadly, and honestly, they all can be prevented if caught in time. But that depends on us, because I know about our hesitancies going to the doctor, and trust me, I am no stranger to that. But if there's anything that we can take from the life of Chadwick Boseman, is that he lived a life as a king, and at the same time in the matter, we as black men need to be more careful about our health. So we're sorry from that, guys. Aside from that, I really don't have anything else. Oh, COVID-19 is still around, folks. Let's keep honest about that. So definitely stay safe. Definitely. Not only stay safe, but also mind your social distancing. Always wear a mask, and really try to avoid places that you necessarily don't have to go. For example, if it's food, I understand that, but everything else you don't really have to go do. But aside from that, guys, also thank essential workers, thank nurses' aides, doctors' aides, those that are really in the firing lane that are still trying to help us keep these cases down. Because although with everything going around, COVID is still here, but you definitely want to give those people the props for actually putting their lives on the line, as well as gas station workers, grocery store workers, truckers, those that work in UPS, DHL, FedEx, and all those other places that pretty much keep America going. We really need to give them credit. We wish we could do a lot more for them, but at this time, we still need to say thank you. So, aside from that, guys, that's really all that I got. I do thank you all for watching. I'm out of here. Have a good and safe weekend wherever you're at, and we'll try to do this again. But also, rest in peace, Black Panther. His watch is ended. Peace.